Do, 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 do. Oh, okay. I might as well get the chats up too, unless you want to monitor the chats. Either way. Uh,
Um, yeah.
do you want to
I'll
do that?
pull it up. I'll pull that up in a second here.
Okay.
No, that's not.
We're gonna have one on Twitch, one on YouTube, one on uh, Facebook, but we'll just kind of play it by ear. I can monitor one or two if you want, and we can go from there.
Yeah, that'd be good.
What do you want to take?
Let's see. I can keep an eye on the Facebook one fairly easily from here. I've already got that pulled up.
Okay, cool. All right, we
Oh,
got the
grab my
Facebook one pulled
keyboard
up.
here.
Sounds good. Let me
It
grab.
is just too easy to live stream these days.
Oh, I know it's
It's
incredible.
amazing.
Well, I am completely enamored with learning every inch of OBS that I possibly can these days.
Yeah,
So I've learned a lot. That and Streamlabs. I'm still learning a lot about Streamlabs. So all right, let's see. Come on, reload. I'm trying to get my other laptop to, which is a really cheap one, to load up Twitch. It seems somewhat frozen at the moment. Yeah,
of course.
yeah, I may have to reboot, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and get sort of started anyway. Um, for those of you who don't know, I'm Joshua David Link, says so underneath me, and Benjamin Curley says so underneath him.
What's
We're
up?
we're not starting our podcast yet, but well, ours, I should say. Chris Reyes's, but
Yeah, but he's not here, so we can say whatever we want.
right. But no, I'm in many ways I'm the what do you call it? Oh, come on now. Just continue. Do your thing, old laptop. Anyway, the getting distracted here. Tonight we're going to be recording a podcast for the Story to Screen movie review podcast. We've been on it for how many years now? It's crazy. Like off and on, we've been able to record.
Yeah,
It's been a
over
long.
three at least, right?
Oh, it's way over that by this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I've completely lost track at this point.
well,
Yeah, it has been a while.
yeah, it's been a real long while. Let me see here. Uh, I want to say it was like 2011, 2012 when I actually started doing it with Chris Reyes, and then you came in shortly after. Um, Something like that.
Yeah.
And so we're getting ready to review Avengers Infinity War, but before we do, my baby needs to stop screaming. I don't know if you can hear her.
I cannot,
You
thankfully.
cannot? Yeah, I got a good
I can.
I got a really nice
Yeah.
dynamic mic, so that's good. Um
Let
anyway,
me know if you hear my baby in the other room.
yeah. Well, we're doing our best as dads, right?
Yeah.
um but we've been doing this podcast for quite a long time. I was a long time ago, I think 2011 or something like that. I could go look it up, but I'm lazy. Chris Reyes approached me and wanted me to help him start a podcast with the technical advice and whatnot because he has a major passion for film. And Chris, of course, you can take any of this and put this in the podcast itself, but this is kind of a preamble while we finish getting set up and start getting people in the chat talking to us and whatnot on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Um, Ben's going to be manning the Facebook chat. I'm trying to get this old clankety computer up to my left so that I can do that, but it says working on updates, 18% complete. So we might
Naturally.
so I might be
I can
missing some
also
of
forward
your
you.
comments and stuff. So we'll just see how that plays out through the evening. Um
Which page you're not streaming to Story to Screens page on YouTube. You're streaming to yours, right?
Correct. That one. If you look up Joshua David Ling or Ryman Space, you'll probably find it. Um, I think the actual URL is youtube.com/Ryman Space, if I
Yeah,
remember
there it is.
correctly.
There it
Yeah.
is.
So it's right there. It's live.
Got it. Yep.
Cool. I doubt we'll have anyone on YouTube. YouTube tends to be the screaming into the ether stream.
Yes. Yeah. It's just yeah. There's not native traffic
Yeah,
there
you have to
for
bring
whatever reason.
traffic.
Yes.
Twitch, I'll get random people that find me every now and then just because they're looking for something weird or different to watch.
Yeah. I mean,
But
Twitch. When it comes to random people, Twitch is probably the best.
yeah, for random people, yeah, I find Facebook is the best for like getting an actual audience.
Hmm.
But as far as maintaining an audience, and a lot of the community tools are better on Twitch as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they've just
Um,
been doing it longer.
yeah. Well, do you remember Justin.tv? I do.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, I wasn't on there, but I knew about it. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a background on us and what we're doing tonight. We'll probably be getting started in just a few minutes. Just a little disclaimer: it is going to be just the two of us. We can make it if we tried. No, but we are going to not be having any music tonight. On the podcast version, Chris Reyes is going to be adding in some music, the theme song and the trailer and whatnot for the movie tonight. But just so that we don't get flagged, it's just going to be our dulcet tones. So that's what we're going to
Oh
stick with.
yeah.
This thing's at 30%. It's gonna be a bit, but it'll all work out in the end. I'm not too worried about it. Ben will do his best to keep an eye on things for the moment, and then I'll get pulling it up as we go along. But I guess we can go ahead and say this is the rough start if you're good for it, Ben.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So theme song plays. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Story to Screen podcast, the movie podcast where we review all different movies, new and old. Also, we don't change our intros very often or do shows very often because we're so busy. My name is
Just a
Joshua
little bit.
David Ling, and I am joined by video magic extraordinaire himself, Benjamin Curley. How's it going, my friend?
Hey, what's up? Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty darn good. Got a little girl, you got a little boy. I don't know, man. We might end up playing Sebastian one day, Sha-la-la-la-la-la. I don't know. This is just
Yes.
random weird ideas. We're such nerd dads. We are the two dads of the Story to Screen movie review podcast, and we've seen quite a few films, I believe, at least I have, since we last recorded, which was what again, Ben? Do you even remember?
Well, yeah. You may have seen a lot of films, but the last film, at least the last film I saw in theaters, was the last time we were on this podcast. It was, I think it was Last Jedi was the last time I was in theaters.
Oh wow, that was a bit ago.
Yeah.
Also, you were not very kind to that one, and I was like,
No, I was not.
I was like, I need to have a talk with this young Padawan. Um, Not that I thought it was the perfect movie or anything like that. But I think there was some stuff, and maybe we can get into that a little bit here. And Chris can keep it or remove it one way or another. But one of the things, let's start with Jedi, because I've seen a bunch of movies since, and maybe you've seen some out of theaters. But the one in particular thing I wanted to bring up about Last Jedi, and we don't have to go into a whole thing. I got one cohesive, simple message out of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that message kind of sewed up all the weirdness. And that is the idea that the church is not made up of the individual heroes. The church marches on. And of course, when I say the church, I'm saying allegorically. It's not Luke Skywalker. It's not Yoda. It's not any of these kind of people. It's actually the Force that marches on. The Force can exist without just like I believe Christianity can exist without the church, although the church, of course, is commanded and will eventually return.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so that was the thing that really caught me and held me for the whole of the movie. Luke was, crazy. But I liken it to a lot of times when you meet someone who's your hero and they end up being a jerk, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that was an interesting surprise. So I'll just say that much in defense of it, and you can tell me how I'm wrong. I'll give you the last word for the Last Jedi.
I mean, you're entitled to your wrong opinions. I mean,
I am Presbyterian
Baptist
after
being
all,
the
right?
first of many.
I was gonna say Reformed Baptist over there on the left side of the screen, Presbyterian on the right. So there you go. But yeah, which I'm being told by certain people that I'm not even Presbyterian anymore, and I'm just joking about that. But and I think they are for the
You're not
most part too.
Presbyterian. What am I?
Well, I'm saying, I'm saying, I'm saying, I get a whole bunch of people telling me I'm Dutch Reformed, and I'm like, there's a difference? Question mark. So yeah, there's
Hmm.
I've done a ton of research and I can find very minuscule differences in polity, but they're like it's still a Presbyterian form of government, so I'm really confused.
It is.
So
You might as well keep the name that people are familiar with. I mean,
right, yeah. So anyway, moving on from our Last Jedi nerd theology talk. Um, well, I'll start with you. What other movies or TV or anything lately, story wise, that you've seen that has captured your imagination or that you just want to talk about?
I was enjoying. I don't know if anyone else. I don't know if you saw, but on Netflix they released revamp of Lost in Space,
I did see
and
that, and
really enjoyed that.
I've seen
That
very mixed
first,
reviews.
I, I'm of I'm of the side that I really enjoyed it.
That's good. That's
People
good.
nitpicking over the science aspect of it. I think maybe they never saw the original,
Right?
and this is Lost in Space we're talking about here.
This is
You
Danger,
know, with
Danger,
traveling
Will
circuses
Robinson.
and everything.
Yeah.
uh, yes, exactly. Some people are confused. That may be, although personally, I think I kind of favor that. I don't know. More and more these days, I kind of favor the slower paced movies, the ones that really get into the characters and wow, wow. They've never made me love to hate a villain more than Dr. Smith.
Oh, really? More than
Built her up to be a perfect villain. It's phenomenal. Really looking forward to a second season of that.
Huh. So you hate Dr. Smith more than Thanos, huh? Did you hear that?
I lost you there.
Okay, I said so you love Dr. Smith more or hate Dr. Smith more than Thanos.
Yes.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
a
I would say so.
that is a glowing recommendation, sir. Well, in order to not bog down my internet connection because we are getting a little bit laggy because I do have a good bit going on with the call and the stream. I think I'm gonna not touch Twitch, and you can go ahead and check it if you want at some point. Otherwise, don't. And we'll just go ahead and record and stream it as we will. So sorry, folks in the
Yeah,
chat. Can't be super interactive tonight just because of internet connection. But we'll do our best. Um,
that's one thing I'm really waiting on places like Facebook to bring in is monitor the chat without actually having to watch the stream.
yes, that would be really good.
But yeah, anyway,
Well, anyway,
it's a side
indeed.
complaint.
Anyway, indeed. As we were saying, um, I was gonna say the latest thing that I've seen that I've been watching over and over and over and over and listening to over and over and over and over is The Greatest Showman. Get best you couldn't tell with the
I
top hat.
still
No, I had
still
the
need to
top
see
hat
that.
before. You still haven't seen it?
I still have not seen it.
Mm, definitely got to go see it. So many people ragged on it for its historical inaccuracies, and I go, really? You couldn't just enjoy this as a movie? You know?
Well, I mean, apparently you have to find something to hate about a perfect movie, right?
Oh my goodness, it is. It is pretty exceptional. There's a couple things that I could nitpick about it, but they're very, very small. One thing in particular that's not a spoiler is there's a famous opera singer that doesn't sing opera because it doesn't work with the soundtrack. So she's your standard kind of Celine Dion balladeer, power vocalist. So that's that. But that took me out of the movie for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not a huge deal. They kept saying she's this great opera singer, and then boom, she
And then didn't sing
belts it
opera.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, um, but in regard to that, I actually was able to go to Atlanta pretty recently and visit my family. And I watched The Greatest Showman with my dad, and that was a particularly fantastic experience. Shortly after I watched it, it ended up on my bucket list that I had to watch this film with my father. And the main reason being that while he's not as big a film and story connoisseur as myself, he is a bigger music connoisseur, and there is a lot of parallels to not only my life and his life, but his father's life as well as fathers and as husbands. A lot of parallels, and so it was a very very special experience to share that with him.
Oh,
And
nice.
anyone who hasn't seen The Greatest Showman, if you're my friend like Benjamin, I'm going to give you log into my Google account so you can watch it because you just need to. You have no excuses. um, but yeah, so that's been the big one that I've seen. Did you get to see Black Panther before this Infinity War?
I did not. There just wasn't enough time, and I asked some friends who had seen it ahead of time. Said, "Do you?" Yeah, who'd already seen both Black Panther and Infinity Wars, and said, "How much does it play in?" They said, "Yeah, it'll spoil Black Panther for you, but Black Panther is not absolutely critical to Infinity War, so you'll figure it out."
Yeah, I think it's not critical, but it was definitely worth it for me. I don't mind saying it because they didn't release it on digital in time for me to get to see it anyway, and I could not do a double feature with my daughter. I'll buy the movie here soon. But the I went ahead and got a illegal cam video of it that was actually pretty good quality, and went ahead and watched that with Casey. And I'll say Black Panther was a pretty good movie. It's definitely overhyped, for
Hmm.
all the wrong reasons as far as art is concerned. Um, I tell
So
you,
I've heard.
man, it gets fun.
Yes.
It gets funnier every minute. Anytime any secular group suddenly takes the Kevin McCreary route of it's XYZ, you know, and they just scream and jump around and they're all excited. Like it's Christian. They're like it's black, and I'm just like,
Yeah. I mean,
okay,
honestly though, I am disappointed that there haven't really been films that featured um, a majority black cast.
sure, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
there are
so
some, but yeah,
so that is disappointing, but I don't think it's Hollywood's fault. I think what it is just no one's ever stepped up. No one's recognized that demographic as a marketable demographic because that's really what Hollywood is about.
right,
If you can prove there's money there, they'll do it all day long.
absolutely, yeah,
Why the sudden surge of faith-based films? So now that they know there's a market for that sort of thing, we'll be seeing more of that. They're not racist; they're about the money, is what
right,
it is.
right. And the thing is too, as far as storytellers go, a lot of storytellers aren't that interested in doing it because they just haven't been inspired to do so. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like there isn't this ethos of that kind of story, and so storytellers, we copy what we see regularly and kind of tweak it. And
yeah,
so it's just not in the zeitgeist, so to speak, to do a
yeah.
lot of other types. But yeah, it's I agree with you. There should be more, but they should be done properly. And I do think Black Panther was done properly. I think it's
Hmm.
a great film. There's a lot of very interesting stuff you can dive into with worldview, but we're going to be getting into the other Juggernaut Marvel movie that doesn't feature Juggernaut. Um,
Yes.
uh,
But
and that is Avengers Infinity War. But before we do, definitely wanted to point you to Facebook to take a look at a guy named Chris Reyes. He's a friend of mine. I'll link somewhere at some point. But he's put some pictures out of a short film that he's working on called the is it called The American Dream? Yeah, I believe
I think
so.
that's the subtitle. I think the title is Tad:
Okay.
The American Dream, if I
Yep.
recall correctly.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And he's working on this short film, and I worked on him a little bit with the script. I didn't change very much or offer a whole lot of change because I think it's an absolutely solid script. He's finished his first set of filming, and they're getting ready to do their next here soon. Um, I think Benjamin and I can say we're both really excited about this. We're going to be helping on the post production end. Chris, a couple years ago,
Hmm.
moved to Fairhope, Alabama. We're in Augusta and Atlanta, respectively, those general areas. And so we're all kind of
Yeah.
spread out now. And so we don't get together as often, but this is one project that we're going to be able to work together on. And I'm really excited about it. If you want to know more about it, you can contact me. You know where to find me at rymanspace.com, etc. Or Benjamin, you can find him on Facebook pretty easily. I don't think there are too many Benjamin Curleys on Facebook.
I
So,
would hope.
and
Hope you think I'm unique.
yeah, well, all three of my names are fairly common, but you're going to find the top hat guy pretty quickly. So, it's become my thing. Um, so, anyway, with that being said, and with that out of the way, I think it's time to work into Avengers Infinity War. And this is where Chris can put in the trailer if he likes. Does that sound good to you, Ben?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. I got to start calling you Benjamin because I know your wife does the same thing my wife does and goes, Joshua, not Josh.
Yeah.
I've got to get that down. I'm going to get it one of these days.
There's certain people that I'm used to hearing it from them, so I
Right.
just respond to it.
I'm
Um,
going to change though because it is important to me. So, um anyway, and besides, isn't my guy from your tribe?
Probably. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Josh was from the tribe of Benjamin.
I think so.
Yeah, son of Nun, tribe of Benjamin.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds about
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm.
So, anyway, what you just heard was the trailer for Avengers Infinity War, starring Josh Brolin, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, all the Chris's, Robert Downey Jr., etc., etc., etc. The whole cavalcade list of Marvel Marvel greats. So, to give us a little bit of recap, I'm going to read the entire script of all previous 18 movies. No, no.
Plus the Marvel spin-offs that tie in, and
I
or the
actually, they're
Netflix shows and everything that contribute to it. And
exactly right. Well, they don't contribute much to Netflix shows. Let's be honest.
that's true. That's true.
Um, but I was gonna say the to those who are interested and not turned off by profanity, there is a thing you can look up called Marvel Recap Rap, and they did a 5 minute rap song that catches you up to speed for Avengers Infinity War, and it's actually pretty excellent. So, um,
Well, I mean, after how many years has it been now? We kind of need that.
about 10 years, yeah,
Yeah.
10 years, 18 movies. So, anyway, um, I guess we can just start with opening thoughts since I'm kind of hosting this thing. You can go ahead and start with you, Benjamin. What are your thoughts? Just early overall
Yeah,
kind of thoughts.
yeah. Well,
By the way, hold
despite
up. I already have it in the title, but spoilers, spoilers, spoilers.
yes, yes,
Continue.
total spoilers. Yes, despite the movie being more or less spoiled for me by a random Facebook comment,
Boo.
um, gotta love those people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really enjoyed it. It was a really good film. Um, again, I wouldn't rank it up there with my cinematic masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different category than that. That being said, it was a really good film.
And that being said,
Especially if you are, into as far as Marvel films go. Yeah,
yeah.
way up there.
And also, as that being said, where would you kind of rank as a whole the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the realm of movies?
Well, I've sadly I've had a couple years to ponder this now and for the reality to really sink in, but to the detriment of my childhood, Marvel Cinematic Universe has now placed itself above Star Wars universe as far as I'm excited for it.
Wow. And what about Lord of the Rings? Was this above or below Lord of the Rings?
Mm,
Because really,
at
I think those
Lord
are
of the
the
Rings
only.
at its
Yeah.
height would have been higher, but since it's kind of just fallen into the past, it probably sits above that now.
Gotcha. So it's probably number one as far as
Yeah,
film franchises.
probably so. Yeah.
Wow. That is intense, man. That's some high praise right there.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people are really starting to understand with the Marvel movies. Um, I still get the occasional, and I know you fall into this camp sometimes, so don't think I'm making fun of you specifically, or Chris Reyes or anyone in particular. But I hear a lot of people just go, I just want a simple standalone, uh, stands on its own movie, and I just want characters that I care about and da 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 and da da da, and I don't need to know all this crazy lore and backstory. And this isn't that kind of thing. It just isn't.
Yeah. No.
And I think people with Infinity War are starting to finally see that and accept it for what it is.
Hmm.
There's still the old fogies who go, back in my day, film tour, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
But this really is changing the way movies are being made.
It is. No, and
Mm-hmm.
at some point, somewhere in the middle, I was getting kind of tired of the superhero franchise, but I don't know. They seem to push through that pretty well.
Yeah.
Where I just kind of expect it. I'm not exhausted from it. I just kind of expect it. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. And I think that they have been able to not only keep them, fun and fresh, but also been able to, like you said, move through. But I think that the thing that really sets them apart as artistic filmmaking is quite simply the fact that they've changed so much of the landscape. And I think honestly that can only be said about Star Wars otherwise. Honestly,
Yeah.
like the amount of change that they have brought upon the industry can only really be said. I think there's one other place or two other places that it can possibly be said. And those are Snow White and the Seven Dwarves and The Wizard of Oz.
Uh-huh.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think any other movies or franchises have been able to,
Have that kind of
yeah,
impact.
that
No.
kind of impact on the
No.
industry itself.
Yeah.
Um, and so with that, I guess I'll go ahead and give some initial thoughts. I was very pleased with Infinity War but I think unlike Last Jedi, I think absolutely everyone was expecting super harsh middle chapter, and I have to hand it to Disney. I think they kind of saw that there was a potential for this to be extremely reviled if they didn't say something beforehand in the marketing. And
Hmm.
I think the slight little hint that they gave that you're gonna walk away heartbroken from Infinity War was just enough to make people
Yeah.
go, okay, I'm mentally prepared for this because no
Yeah.
one was
No, yeah,
yeah.
knowing that knowing that it's part one of at least two parts.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, it has to end badly. It
Right.
has to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think you were prepared for Last Jedi to be, the middle chapter, so to speak. But I think a
Yeah.
lot of people weren't. And I think that's one of the big reasons that it flopped. It didn't flop, but it had a critical flop
It's a
the way
slap
it did.
across the face to a lot of them. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so, with all that being said, um, I think we can kind of go ahead into the elephant in the room. We've talked about who's dead, and I actually saw a meme that kind of pretty well summed this up. It was kind of funny. It said the real list of all the Avengers killed, and it said and you might get this reference if you watched Albino Black Sheep back in the early 2000s, but Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White and Monty Python and the Holy Grail's Black Knight and Benito Mussolini and the Blue Meaning and Cowboy Curtis and John B. the Genie, from the Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny. But everybody dies in this one, not literally, but like everybody.
Just about. Yeah.
It was kind of
Yeah.
crazy. We got one Guardian, the original Avengers, and is that it? Am I missing anyone?
Mm.
Is there anyone that I'm missing that stayed alive?
No. No,
It's
not really. It is
it,
back to the core group, and that's about it.
it's the core group and Rocket Raccoon, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's it's an amazing thing that they can do this after so many times doing something like this in the comics, and people have a reaction the way they did. And I think that
Yeah.
comes down to execution.
Well, that, and I believe they've deviated enough from the comics
Mm-hmm.
for people to be legitimately concerned.
Yes.
Like, if they followed the comics to the letter, it's like, well, they may enjoy the ride, but ultimately they know how it's going to end.
Also, Lady Death
Scenario,
is creepy and dumb and stupid and
yeah, no, I think a lot of people aren't sure. They really hope, they think they know how this is going to end, but ultimately they're not sure.
right. And I think that that execution, along with haha pun intended, I guess, is really just fantastic storytelling. They make you care about everyone
Hmm.
who moves on, whether in this movie or in other movies. Because let's be honest, nobody who just saw this movie was that sad about Mantis.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But if you saw Guardians 2, Mantis is kind of fun and cool, and I was
yeah,
really sad to see her go. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so we know Ant-Man's still. Well, no, we don't, because we haven't confirmed whether he's still there or not. But I'm guessing he is because of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
But that could be a prequel too. I don't know yet. So, but basically that's the group, and that's pretty incredible. What were your feelings, particularly at that moment when he snapped his fingers? Did you automatically know that he had succeeded in his goal, or did it take you a minute to connect
Well,
all the
thanks
dots?
to Facebook, yes, I knew.
Yeah, okay. That's right.
Yeah. No, up until reading that spoiler, I did not anticipate him to succeed to that extent.
Right.
I expected him to get, 5 of the 6 stones, cliffhanger ending. He's almost succeeded. I did not expect him to succeed.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, okay, some of the people, some of the naysayers. Let's talk about this for a sec. Have pointed out a lot of the logical inconsistencies regarding Thanos and others actually using the Infinity Stones and that sort of a thing.
Hmm.
And I want to see how you answer them in particular. If you have no answer, then don't worry about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
The biggest one that I've seen is why didn't we see in one scene Doctor Strange close a portal on one of the bad guys and cut off the arm.
Hmm.
Why didn't he do that to Thanos?
Did he ever have the opportunity to? I'm trying to think.
Well, a lot of people would automatically state that he has the opportunity, and
I don't think he ever had the opportunity. I don't think Thanos ever stepped anywhere near his portals.
well, he did have a possible opportunity when he was holding Thanos with those strings, and everyone was kind
Yeah.
of. But
Yeah.
the question is, did he have enough power to do that?
Correct. Yes. And with Thanos wielding the Infinity Stones, we have no idea what sort of effect that's going to have on him. Given the comment that Thanos makes, all that for a drop of blood.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We don't know, is he normally that impenetrable, or is this because of the gauntlet?
Right.
I mean, he handed Hulk's rear end to him.
Yes. Yes, he did.
That's something right there.
Yes. And I'm inclined to believe that that is his own strength, but we're not really sure 100% as far as the movie goes, like you pointed out.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that, in my opinion, Doctor Strange is playing it as safe as he possibly can, because I feel like if Thanos pulls back just a little bit and he cuts one of those Infinity Stones, they're
Well,
all gone.
yes. Well, here's the thing. By the time Doctor Strange finally met Thanos face to face, he had already foresaw, what, 12 million different
True.
futures.
Yes. Yeah, that's
What's
another
to
good
say he
point.
did not already attempt that in one of those futures?
Ha, there you go. That's it right there. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with that one. That's really
And
good.
no, I honestly, I've got a theory that, well, it's not a theory, it's a fact. Doctor Strange knows way
Oh
more
yeah.
than he let on.
Oh yeah, totally.
He set
Well,
it up. Yeah.
the second that he seemingly started to care about Tony Stark, I went, no, he's a doctor. He's doing
No,
this because it's the
no,
way to
he's
win.
doing this because this is the only way it wins. This is the only
Exactly.
way they win. He's playing the long game.
There is a theory, and then we can move on to more individual parts of the movie, favorites and characters and things that we liked and disliked. But there is a theory going around, and I find this the most compelling, that all of the characters who seemingly died were actually transported to a different dimension, and that they have to rally around Doctor Strange to get back.
I've heard people say that. Seeing as how I haven't read the comics, maybe they are privy to something that I'm not,
Hmm.
but that just sounds ridiculous. I don't. No, they were wiped from existence. I mean,
In this realm.
yeah, I don't
Well,
know. Don't know, don't care,
right,
honestly.
right. Until you get to the next story. You want Marvel to tell you the story. You don't want to come up with it yourself at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I will say, as far as expectations go and things like that, I don't really build up
I
expectations. I
yeah.
throw out a million theories and none of them phase me. I'm just excited to see what happens. So.
I think it would be incredibly disappointing to have Doctor Strange bring everyone back from the other side.
Well, I wouldn't want him to bring them all back at once. I would want it to be half of the other side of the movie, essentially, and they actually have to quest to come to get everyone back together to go back.
Yeah,
That kind of a thing. So,
yeah,
and he knows he has to bring them back right at a very specific time. Otherwise, that's it.
yeah,
And he doesn't have the time stone, so he's got to be real careful about it or something. Anyway.
yeah. Maybe so. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. I want to hear about your favorites, moments, characters, whatever you have, man. Just like tell me about this movie. Favorite stuff, man.
Dude, when Captain America showed up. Yes. Yes, a tear. A single tear. Oh, that was my favorite part of the whole film. That was the most epic entrance I've seen in a while. Um, they definitely jumped forward in time. Maybe that's because I haven't seen Black Panther, but it seemed like they did jump forward a little bit unexpectedly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Otherwise, I still think they explained everything really well. Nothing felt out of place. I didn't feel like I had missed anything. I think they explained why people were or were not there fairly adequately. They explained why Ant-Man wasn't there. They explained why Hawkeye wasn't there. Um, I don't know. I'm gonna have to slowly unpack it in my head here. Um,
You don't have to be real methodical about it. You can just start
Hulk,
spitting.
the side story going on with Hulk and Bruce was intriguing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it from a story standpoint, it makes sense because Hulk's impenetrable. So of course, if he showed up to the fight, they'd have something to wager.
Mm-hmm.
So having him not be there added a little more insecurity to the story, which I liked.
Well, speaking of insecurity, you noticed why Hulk wouldn't come out, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
he's scared.
he is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, because right at the beginning, he had his butt handed to him, and he doesn't want to because he's never had that. He's never had that happen before.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean he spent time in the arena taking on the worst of the worst from every part of the galaxy. No problemo, and then all of a sudden he can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah. It was also, however, because the last film I saw was Thor Ragnarok, it was also incredibly disappointing seeing all of those survivors from Asgard be wiped out. It's like, come on!
Yeah.
Just the whole film for naught. Come on!
I really feel like it really hits home with Thor though. They've
Mm,
done so much over the past well, this movie and Ragnarok to really reinvigorate uh any kind of sympathy people have for him.
yes.
They have absolutely turned him into this universe's version of Superman, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And in doing that, they've made him, and he's going to be a huge on my list, so I'm not going to go super deep into this. But his storyline in the whole of the MCU is one of the most operatic, heartbreaking stories, and that fits so well with his character. Everybody's own arc fits so well with their
Yes.
character, and that's one of the things that blows me away is each individual character's arc is so true to exactly who they are and what they need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, you go ahead, continue. What else is standing out to you?
Um, I mean, not too much beyond that. I think considering how many characters, how many stars of the film they had, I think they did a really good job balancing it. The only complaint I have in that department is that I don't think they spent enough time explaining the motivation behind Star-Lord's um, little tantrum that cost everything.
That
Maybe it was the acting. I don't know. I wasn't buying it.
hmm.
Some people have
um
said they understood it completely. It was fine. For some reason, I couldn't buy it. Maybe it's just me.
um I think that uh the I don't think it was so much the acting or whatever else. I think that there's only so much that Star Lord could have said in that moment,
Hmm.
and it's still been what was it, PG-13 or R?
I think it was PG-13.
Yeah, there's only so much he could have said, and it'd still be that.
True. Yeah.
And
True.
he's when you already set the bar so high with his profanity, there's not very much room for him
No, you're
to.
right. I hadn't thought about that. That would
Yeah,
have
and that's
giving
not.
him
Mhm.
yeah, PG-13 is giving him that headroom. Yeah, that would have helped with his motivation a little bit, sure.
Right. And obviously I'm not advocating profanity
Hmm.
in movies one way or the other. I do think that you can use it in certain stories and it be effective, but it's the Guardians already started as the dumb middle schoolers kind of sort of in a way of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so
Yeah.
when you give them cursing all the time, I think there was a certain amount in his acting that did come out, and I think he had to do this where he was sort of at a loss for words.
Yeah.
And I think that was a good pickup by Chris Pratt to try and make the scene work as best as he could without really launching into some absolutely extreme profanity. So,
Yeah.
I will say that. Now,
Yeah, and maybe they just, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that that either, yes, it was either his acting or that they didn't build the scene up to that moment properly.
right.
They didn't, I don't know.
Now, even people in my family are getting uh, somewhat offended and a little bit up in arms about the one comment that he makes in that movie. Chris Pratt, of course, a professed believer. Some of his theology I would question because I've seen some of the things he's talked about, but I don't doubt his sincerity at
Hmm.
all. I think that he is doing the best he thinks and knows how to do as far as that goes. But did you have any problem with the line in which they say the name of our Lord Jesus?
Hang on. I remember something like that standing out to me. I'm
Do you
trying to
remember
remember
the
the
scene in the
context of it now.
context? Do I need to bring up the context?
Yeah, that would help.
Okay. Someone, I believe Tony Stark says something to him, "Who's your leader?" or something like that, and Star Lord pauses and then
Yes.
says, "What am I supposed to say, Jesus?"
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Were you particularly offended by that? Did you find it blasphemous or in any way kind of, you know, skirting the
It
line or what?
it it did strike me as incredibly irreverent.
Yeah, but that's the Guardian's MO.
Yeah. Um, Probably right on the line, but it was probably more about the tone than it was the actual verbiage,
I think
in my
that's
opinion.
yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of people get out of it. But when I heard the tone, to me it was more of one of confusion.
Yeah.
To me it was more like, wait a second, are you trying to? I mean, it would be the same thing we would say if for example, a someone who we thought might be a what do you call it? A Scientologist or something, or like, are we supposed to say Xenu? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I think it was just
Yeah. 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 I
yeah,
could see that.
yeah. And so to me, it was more of a thing where he legitimately was confused by the context of the question,
Yeah.
and was just trying to come up with a funny quip and did so.
Yeah.
I didn't find it to be saying something derogatory about Jesus. Um,
Yeah.
I find someone screaming out, which he has done in a few of the Guardians films, you know, Jesus Christ as an exclamation. I find that more blasphemous than I did that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think a lot of people are blowing that one out of proportion because of the tone,
Yeah.
like you were saying. But I did not find that to be malicious writer wise at all.
No, ignorant at best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get into you know, you mentioned a couple of really fantastic parts in this movie.
Oh, there was a lot to name though.
There are a lot to name. There's two things that I wanted to point out. First, I'll go into the thing I absolutely love the most about the movie, and that, quite honestly, was the payoff of Thor's side arc. Not specifically the creation of Stormbringer, but when he comes down to Earth with Stormbringer.
Yes.
Um, the the moment when Thor summons the Bifrost himself and comes out of the sky,
That was
that
yeah.
it's just such an incredible moment, and we've seen him pulled together really fast, like all the possible strength he, you know, relatively fast, all the possible strength he can possibly possess to
Yeah.
try and stop Thanos, and it
Yeah,
just
no, he
wasn't
wasted
enough.
no time getting right to it.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the things I love about Thor in this movie and in Ragnarok is he's kind of done messing around.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, in the beginning of Ragnarok, he pulls Odin, quote unquote, off the throne and says, "Where's father?" You know, he's not playing anymore. You know,
Yeah.
And ever since Ragnarok, which really took a lot of the good parts of Thor 2, The Dark World,
Hmm.
and all, I think, the good parts of the first one, and then gave some comedy to him because at this point, his whole life is so screwed up that he's just like, this is ridiculous and kind of funny. I've never been in this kind of position before. Which
Yeah,
is kind of my explanation, my headcanon for why he's suddenly so quippy.
yeah. Well, that, and he's also traveling alone for the first time. He's always
Right.
had his companions with him to joke with, but now he's got to entertain himself.
Right, but the thing is, he never really joked that much. And I know a lot of
Yeah,
people got really weirded out by him suddenly doing that. But to me, I think it's just a matter of his whole life is so messed up now, you
hmm,
know? And he's just, and we see it with Rocket. I think that really came to a head when he and Rocket are talking and talking about all
hmm,
they've been through. And he's just like, what else do I have left?
yeah,
This is it right here. This is my final shot.
yeah,
And so with that being said, the I loved the whole side arc. Peter Dinklage was great. The interesting, weird way of doing that it was very comic booky. The whole Forge situation was very, very, very Norse metal. Just super fun. And I think the icing on the cake was Groot using his arm, stepping up for the first time as teenage Groot, and using
yes,
his arm to form the handle. And when
yeah,
I saw that, I'm like, who needs Mjolnir? And when I,
yes,
and when I heard that it could summon the Bifrost, I'm like, what? this is
yes,
this is taking Thor to an unbelievably stupid powerful level.
yeah, for real, yeah,
And now he is by far, until we see Captain Marvel and what she can do, he is by far the most powerful Avenger on the crew.
hmm,
Um, and so I'm looking forward to that. Also loved. I thought Star Lord's story was honestly pretty good and interesting. I'm glad that he had an important role in this movie, even though it was more for ill than for good.
yeah,
And I was, of course, my three favorites are Thor, Star Lord, and Doctor Strange. And I was really satisfied with Doctor Strange's role in this movie.
oh, yeah,
He was absolutely fantastic in every way. Very
hmm,
cerebral, very he'll deal with the quips, but he can be serious and funny at the same time. I
hmm,
don't know how Benedict Cumberbatch was able to do that because, like, Robert Downey Jr. kind of has that swagger when he quips. Same with
yeah,
Star Lord. Same with a lot of these characters. But like Benedict Cumberbatch can just say something super dry. It's a British thing. You can say
yeah,
something super dry, super plain, and just cut right through somebody, and you just laugh at it just because he totally owned that guy.
yes, yes,
And I really enjoyed that. But the thing that I wanted to get to specifically, there were a lot of people are giving various analogies to Thanos's motivation and Thanos as a whole.
hmm,
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, he's positioning himself like God, and he's separating the sheep from the goats, and blah 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 blah." But yeah, that's a little bit different because God does that on a moral law basis and not a random 50-50. Um, and the thing that really struck me, quite honestly, and I'm surprised there aren't more people pointing this out because it's so obvious. Marvel, while they have some weird political leanings in certain higher departments, they are not necessarily liberal as a whole. There are a
yeah,
bunch of more libertarian thinking people at the top. Kevin Feige kind of comes to mind at times. He's sort of this weird, sort of
yeah,
liberal libertarian kind of thing going on, as far as I've seen.
yeah,
Um, let's think about this for a minute. Thanos, he's kind of this purple pink color, right?
hmm,
He wants to cull because of the overpopulation and blah blah blah, and he thinks of it as a mercy, and all these people would have had horrible, terrible lives anyway.
hmm,
Can you think of any other purple pink giant that tries to, you know, kill all the babies.
Oh, you mean my playerhood? What? What? Did I
Mm.
say that?
Is it? Is it?
Every eugenicist ever.
How seriously? How has? How have I not heard every like fifth person at least say, "Oh my goodness, Thanos is an analogy for Planned Parenthood"? Like, am I wrong, Ben? Is it not that obvious?
No, no. I mean, I didn't. I did not think of him in terms of that specific organization, but I immediately thought to all eugenicists down the line, all Darwinists. It's like this is the outcome of your worldview.
Right. And see, it's in vogue in Hollywood right now to bash the quote unquote white supremacists because for some reason we had a black president, now we have a white president, and now everybody thinks that like white supremacy is back on the rise? Question mark. And I'm like,
Yeah.
not
Mhm.
anywhere that I've seen. White supremacy is stupid and wrong, but what? And so
Mhm.
they've reassociated white supremacy with the political right. And so they were able to get away with making him seem kind of Hitlery, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's not Hitler because
No.
this isn't based on race.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I found most interesting because while Planned Parenthood has had race issues in the past, you know, Margaret Sanger trying to get rid of the Negroes in her own words, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
but it's not a uh, it's not a thing that it's a 50-50, and you have to really think about that. This isn't about anything but poverty, quite honestly.
Yeah.
It's a socialist communism that is so far left, it's really insane, you know. And I think that the thing that is so genius about this from you and me's perspective, a Christian apologist kind of person who can look at these movies and draw something from them,
Mhm.
while some people would go, oh, they're just, you know, having him play this god and he's terrible and blah 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 blah. I hear a lot of people who don't have, you know, have sort of a spiritual ignorance, and they, you know, agnosticism, atheism, whatever, and they would say, oh, that's wrong. And you and I can swoop in and say, by what standard?
Yeah.
Because the Avengers certainly haven't given a standard by which they can say he's wrong.
Mhm.
And I think that's the thing that makes him so scary to everybody, because they're thinking in
Yeah.
their own hearts, how do I answer this question?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
He's
you can,
wrong. We know he's wrong, but why?
yeah, and the thing is, we know he's wrong because he's attacking the image that we are made in.
Mhm.
And that's literally the only explanation that sticks is we are made in God's image and we cannot stand to see the image of God desecrated.
Yeah.
That's why we hide things away in Planned Parenthood uh, complexes and those sorts of things, you know.
Mhm.
And so it's really kind of crazy to think about. But I while Thanos was purple in the comics, they did kind of pink him up a little bit too. And I really really do think that all of this was chosen on purpose. Whether it, I'm not saying necessarily from the very top,
Hmm.
but I'm pretty sure at some point down the line, somebody. I don't think that you can make something this obvious without at least one person, even just somebody doing the lighting in one particular scene or whatever else, thinking to themselves, "This is Planned Parenthood."
Possibly.
It's so incredibly obvious to me. So anyway, moving off of that topic, do you have any other specific things you want to talk about? Otherwise, we can move on to nitpicks.
um, I don't think so. Props to Marvel. This is probably their first really good villain.
Mm-hmm. Besides Loki.
Yeah. Which is he really a villain?
Yes.
I mean,
Casey said he doesn't count. He's a double agent. I say, no, that's the whole point. He's evil.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Being a double
he's,
agent is inherently evil.
he's out for his own self-interest, is what he
Yes,
is.
aka evil.
Yeah. Well, so is Tony, but
Yes, Tony is evil. We've established that in Captain America: Civil War, right? Anyway,
that is very true. That is very true.
he just decides that he's gonna, try to do good things even though he can't explain why.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, anyway. Oh, we can go down that rabbit trail all day.
Speaking of rabbits,
Yes. Did you see, by the way, I'm going to pull this up. Let's see here. I have my Chrome window here. I need to show you this and the people this. Actually, I'll just tell you because I really don't want to mess with this right now. But y'all can find it somewhere. There is an image of someone giving an actual storyboard of how Bugs Bunny would definitely defeat Thanos. And they have him put a metal detector in the middle of the battlefield and say all metal objects must go in this bin before crossing because he's a TSA agent. And Thanos is like, "What? That's ridiculous." And he's like, "For shame, Doc. There are people behind you and you have to go you have to go through." And Thanos starts sweating. It's just it's so fantastic.
That sounds about right for Looney Tunes. Yeah.
He turns around and there's 100 different disguised Bugs Bunnies just standing behind him looking angry. They're trying to get through TSA. So good.
Oh.
See, George Bush saves us again, right? Anyway. Oh
Yes.
boy. So anyway, nitpicks. Ben, you got any?
I don't think I watched it close enough to come away with too many personal nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a few along the way that I can express in case anyone hasn't heard them yet. One being, why did Thanos erase half the population when he had the Infinity Stone? Why didn't he just increase the amount of produce, the amount of energy that planets could support? Why didn't he go the other direction? Why didn't he create an infinite supply for humanity or for the universe rather than cut the universe in half?
Even though it's not said, I do have an answer for that from Thanos' worldview. And this is just me speculating. Quite simply, he believes in balance. And in order to, if he increased the produce, or as you put it, really it's the resources.
Yes, that's the word.
If he increased the resources, there would just still be greed at the very top, etc., and things would kind of just end up the way they are because of the 1% anyway.
Yeah.
Though he can't kill, though I think he loathes the 1%, I think that he realizes that it isn't just or right to just kill the 1%. So he goes with the whole 50-50 thing, which even he is hypocritical about because he saves Gamora.
Yes.
He picks her out.
Yes.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
What else do you have? Anything?
Yeah, no, and another response to that potentially is, since that was the solution to his particular planet's problems, he immediately assumes, well, that's the solution to the universe's problems.
Well, don't we all do that?
We do.
So
yeah.
I think that's, even though he's not a human, I think that's human enough
to
kind of get a pass. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So beyond that, no, I don't really have too many personal nitpicks.
I had some people tell me they hated the way Red Skull came back. I thought it was genius.
I thought it was I do think it was pretty clever to bring him back in, because we were always left wondering what really happened to him.
Yep, definitely.
I think that answered that quite well.
And that way, because we don't have Hugo Weaving, you could have him with that kind of voice, imitated without it being, a major player again.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, then you don't have to come into the Don Cheadle Edward Norton problem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, anyway, I think that my nitpicks mainly center around the fact that um, I think the I think that Ebony Maw died too quickly
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit too easily at the hands of Tony Stark.
Mm.
Um, I think that the they weren't able to do everything that they wanted to in regard to making you think. And this is more of a meta nitpick than the actual movie. They weren't able
Yeah.
to really make you think these characters were dead because we have movies coming out with certain characters of this, and
Yeah.
so we know they're going to come back some way somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nitpick. Um, One thing I want to give them a lot of props on is they changed a lot of things in the trailer, visually to not tip us off to specific scenes. And that's one
Yeah.
thing that I really, really appreciated. We actually saw Hulk and Wakanda in the trailer, even though he's never there.
Mm-hmm.
And the we actually see Thor raise his hand with lightning, but Stormbringer is not in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, Stormbreaker or Stormbringer?
Stormbringer, I think.
I'd have to look it up. Anyway,
I don't recall now.
it's
Yeah.
it's Beta Ray Bill's hammer. Anyway,
Yeah. No. That actually that does make me think of one nitpick I had was how quickly people gave in when they were pressured.
specifically,
Multiple times throughout the films, anytime anyone was threatened with torture, someone else being tortured, whatever, they just instantaneously gave in. It's like, really?
hmm.
Um, Granted, a lot of those people gave in because they weren't used to being tortured, but still, it,
I
it
th-
seemed a little too convenient, too easy for me.
well, I think a couple of them were, but I think in the case of Star Lord and Gamora and Vision and Scarlet Witch, I could buy it because there's a legitimate, uh, more than familial love, an
Oh
intimate
yeah,
love.
no, yeah, not in those cases, but in the Gamora Nebula case,
Yeah,
I wasn't really buying that.
yeah. The whole everything about Gamora and Nebula's relationship is so complicated that I never know what to think.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and that was one particular acting part. I'll put this. Zoe Saldana is very charismatic, and she can hold herself in a lot of very common scenes. I think she's a very exceptional actor when
Yeah.
she is giving kind of common and relatable emotions. But when she has to go operatic, as we
Yeah.
see in the scene right before her death, I think she had a really hard time finding the space between like the uncanny cheesy valley and like actual drama you know
Yeah. Yeah.
I like I said, I think she's far more than just good looks. I think she's an exceptional actress, but I
Mhm.
think that she's kind of the reverse of Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'll throw that out there because
Mhm.
Sarah Michelle Gellar has a hard time doing like regular everyday kind of scenes. But if you ask her to cry, everyone in the room is going to cry
Mhm.
because she's just that good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At doing the huge drama. So
Yeah.
I think Zoe Saldana is kind of the opposite of that. So, um, but anyway, those are my nitpicks. Are we done with our nitpicks?
I think so.
Okay. Talk about the future. We got Avengers: Infinity War 2, which has another name coming soon,
Hmm.
next year actually. And what are you most excited for? What is Do you have any theories? We've talked a little bit about those, and you've said you're kind of not that into the theories and things, but
Mhm.
just tell me your thoughts about what this all means going forward and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah. Um. I think they've done an absolutely fabulous job setting up the next film.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a shame that it's so far away. I think
Aren't we spoiled
with as
though?
much
So far
happened.
away, like it's a year out. We probably even
True,
less time than
true,
some of the
but
Lord of the
I
Rings
think they
films.
jam-packed so much into this film that it's going to require another screening just before watching part two.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think I think there's so much there you can't just remember it all. Uh, I'm also really curious to see, especially with so many big characters, how they send some of them off for good. Because we're approaching the end of contract for quite a few characters.
Yep.
So, a lot of people, myself included, would love to see this renewed and picked back up. Um,
But they can't
at
do
the
it
same
forever
time,
at the same time. Yeah.
exactly. At the same time, at some point, they've got to phase them out, and I'm curious to see, especially in a film this big, how they do that, and they do it. Can they do it well?
We've
Because
seen.
that's something that I think that's something that we haven't seen Marvel do yet.
Mhm.
We've not seen them end a character for good yet.
Hmm. Yeah. Unless
Um,
Loki, but I doubt it.
and yeah, yeah.
I doubt Loki's dead.
He's the only one who felt like he had a proper send off if it really was.
Right.
Yeah.
Um.
So mixed emotions on that.
Yeah. I was gonna say the this is a question that I gotta ask because I'm sure you've seen a little bit about this, but the Disney Fox merger is kind of held up because of the whole Comcast wanting to buy them kind of thing, and Disney's kind of fighting that whole thing, that whole battle, and seeing
Yeah.
what they can do to get Fox. If that goes through, there's still some issues with getting specifically the Fantastic Four, which is one of the biggest gets that they're trying to get into this situation before it kind of closes if they can.
Hmm.
However, they would, as far as I understand it, be able to take the at least some of the X-Men into consideration for a few things, even if they're just cameos or whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, my biggest question is this: obviously, there's many characters we'd love to see from not only Fantastic Four and X-Men, but other sort of projects and films and things that are kind of
Hmm.
held up because of the whole Disney Marvel thing. But will we see specifically the one and Hugh Jackman has gone on record and said this. He probably would come back to be Wolverine in the MCU if given the chance.
Hmm.
Will we ever see Wolverine in the MCU, even in just a cameo?
Hmm. I think it's very likely.
I think so too.
I think it's very likely. I know he has become that role,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done Wolverine justice
Yes.
very well. And the send off they had for him, um, in his final film, that was great.
Yes.
Um, but I could see them given the chance working in something. I don't see them ever making a standalone film with him
Mm-mm.
ever again.
Nope. I don't think so at all. Not after
Yeah.
Logan.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any purpose to do that. But
No.
I think just to see, and this is another thing too. I would not mind at all at some point if they offered Tobey Maguire a villain role or something like that.
Yeah.
Just. I know he's not as into the
Excuse me.
superhero things. He's kind of
Yeah,
moved
just
out
to
of
bring
that
these people in to do it right for once.
because we've already got Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Um, I really
Yeah.
feel like if we had, uh, I think any one scene with the four of these actors on screen, Keaton, Maguire, Jackman, and Robert Downey Jr. That in and of itself would
Oh, that'd be
be
fun.
one of the most amazing things ever because those are the four most influential superhero actors ever
Yeah.
by far. And
Yeah.
there would be no MCU without the four of them in their succession.
Hmm.
Um, and so I just wanted to kind of point that out and look forward possibly to something like that. I
Wait,
think
I'm
that
trying to recall. What did Keaton do in the Marvel?
no, not Marvel. He was Batman.
But
I'm talking
superhero.
superhero
Yeah,
films.
yeah. I
Yeah.
remember him as Batman, and
Hmm.
he was honestly of those films. Yeah, he's probably my favorite Batman.
Right, and but my point is that from before Batman, the 1989,
Yes.
there were no even semi-serious superhero films really.
No.
Batman was the first.
Yeah.
Then I think the next actual upgrade, because we kind of devolved into the Schumacher stuff.
The
Um,
90s killed so many
yes,
franchises.
and we had
Uh,
Spawn and all that stuff. Anyway,
Elektra, Daredevil.
yeah, well, I wasn't even
Oh,
getting to them yet because the thing that changed that and the thing that really spawned Elektra and Daredevil was Spider-Man. Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. That was the next step.
yes.
Actually,
Yes.
no, it wasn't the next step. Technically, X-Men was. X-Men was really the next step. Then
Yes.
Spider-Man, and then Iron Man.
Yeah.
So, but those were the big steps in creating actual comic book movies.
Mm-hmm.
Were people who actually loved the source material and actually wanted to put it on screen
Yes.
instead of completely changing it.
Yeah.
And so, uh, with that being said, I think but the thing that I look forward to the most is just the culmination of all these things. I'm waiting for my throne room scene from Return of the Jedi for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm waiting
Yes.
for the big, big super cry, and I know it's
Yes.
coming. I know it's
Yeah.
going to be super impactful,
Where it's
and
like
I cannot wait.
this is the height, this is the end. It's all wind down in smaller movies from here, at
Yeah,
least for the next 5 to 8 years.
right, right. And so
Yeah.
that's what I'm really excited for. I really want to see the culmination, particularly of Thor's arc. I think that everyone wants to see the culmination of Iron Man's arc.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to see the culmination of Cap's arc. Those three in particular,
Yes.
we're getting really excited about. So, but for me, it's Thor. That's my number one. As far as these arcs go, he's had an incredible run.
Oh,
So,
he's had the roughest ride of them all.
yes.
Yeah.
So, well, any other thoughts, Benjamin, on Avengers Infinity War? Anything else whatsoever?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Alrighty. Well, just so everyone knows, I started early today. I know it's about 20 minutes after my normal start time. I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up tonight with story to screen. And I'm going to do, my normal streaming schedule next week. Last night, I unfortunately had to put down a pet, and that was pretty hard. And so that's why I didn't stream last night. But if you want to find out more about Story to Screen Movie Review, you can look it up on iTunes. We have all kinds of episodes going way back. We don't do it as often anymore, but when we do, it's a lot of fun. You can find out more about Benjamin Curley. Where?
Um, don't really have a place at the moment.
You
Either
have your
here on
YouTube channel.
Facebook or I do have my YouTube channel, yeah, which I'm trying to get back to here. Cinematic Sensei would be the
Mm-hmm.
channel. Um, it hasn't been updated in a couple months now, but yeah,
Bow to your sensei.
yes. So yeah, hopefully here get back to that soon.
Yep.
A lot of
Excellent.
stuff going on at work, but yeah.
You can find more of my stuff, of course, at rhymeandspace.com. If you're on Twitch, you can check them out down below in the panels. Yeah, most people know where to find my stuff. I'm all over the place, Top Hat Guy. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Benjamin, any last words for this podcast before we're, out for another 2 years or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Till the next
Oh,
Infinity War.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yep. Life's crazy, isn't it? Now,
No,
Mhm. Go ahead.
yeah. There's some good stuff coming up. I'm curious.
Definitely.
I'm curious how Solo's gonna pan out, but yeah, that's another
Thankfully,
story.
all four of us are going to get together this coming weekend, the four Story to Screen people. Not this weekend, but the next weekend at Ian Maffitt's wedding. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, we'll be able to come together. We'll definitely get at least snag a photo, I'm sure. and see what we can do from there as far as story to screen goes. But we want to thank everyone who's listened to us over the years and continues to listen to us. Um, and I think that's going to do it. Uh, I don't normally say this. This is another podcast, but cheers and amen. Ow! See y'all later. And that'll do it.